Hello everyone, I'm back with another video. As you can tell from the title, this will be a guide for solo mode Echidna. I will cover all major mechanics, gimmicks, and some important attacks. If you enjoyed the video or found it to be helpful, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the raid. For Gate 1, you will bring the following battle items: Dark Grenade and Atropine. For the last battle item, you could bring Swiftness Robe if you like. Considering Echidna is a casualist raid, the Sidereals work a bit different than Legion raids like Theamine, Akan, etc. You will have access to 3 Sidereals like before, but the way you interact with them is a bit different. The Sidereal meter is sectioned into 5 bars in total. When 3 bars fill up, you can use the Sidereal. When you use a Sidereal, you will have a follow-up skill you can use. However, most follow-up skills consume an extra bar of Sidereal meter. So if you only have 3 bars, and you use a Sidereal, you will not be able to use the follow-up as 4 bars would be required. At the start of Gate 1, your frame rate may drop. This is because the developers thought it'd be a good idea to add a ton of mobs at the starting phase. You will ignore the mobs and proceed to the top left side of the map. You will see a mob that has a tether attached to the boss. You will also notice that the boss has a shield. You have to kill this mob as soon as you can. Afterwards, a Vel who is on the battlefield will cast a skill momentarily, which will remove the boss's shield. Once this has occurred, your Sidereal meter will fill up to a point where you can use the Echidna Sidereal. I would not cast it right away, as sometimes the boss will disappear and land on a map noted by a red telegraph, which would cause you to miss out on some damage from Echidna. I usually cast it when the boss is in the middle of an attack that lasts a few seconds. The goal of this phase is to get the boss down to 163 or below to trigger the next phase. During the starting phase, you may see a large shadow of a dragon passing by. The game is telling you that a dragon will breathe fire in that area momentarily. This does not do a lot of damage. When you trigger the next phase, a cutscene will occur, then you will be brought to the right side of the map. You will notice that there's a timer at the top left of your screen. You need to parkour your way to the end, where the boss is located, and complete a stagger check before the time runs out. Press G on your keyboard to proceed through the map. You will get to a section where you have to fight a few mobs. You will need to kill all of them to proceed to the next section of the map. You will then see a large dragon that you need to kill. He does not have much HP, so a few DPS skills should be enough to kill him. Afterwards, proceed up to the next platform until you get to the end where the boss is located and complete the stagger check. The stagger check is pretty easy to complete in solo mode from my testing, but if you need more stagger, you can pick up the solo mode stagger buff or bring Whirlwind Grenade instead. When the stagger check is complete, you may have the option to use Echidna for extra damage if you like. Before we get to the next mechanic, let's discuss a gimmick that will occur during the fight. The boss will periodically show a green aura around him, then perform one of 2 patterns. The first pattern is when he shows a green piece of telegraph that locks onto your position. You need to bait this piece of telegraph away from the NPCs that are fighting with you on the battlefield. Once it fully locks on, you can move out. If the telegraph hits an NPC, it is not a big deal. But if the telegraph does not hit an NPC, then you will get a 10% attack power buff that lasts 20 seconds. The second pattern is when the boss disappears, then reappears with 3 clones of himself that surround an NPC. The real boss will have an HP bar above its head. After a quick moment, the boss will glow blue for a counter. If you succeed to counter, you will get a 10% attack power buff. If you fail the counter, you will not get the buff. At 135 HP lines or below, the next mechanic will occur. The boss will move to the middle, and outside of the map will not be safe. After a quick moment, the boss will disappear. Then you will see black and red lines on the ground. All lines will be black, with only 1 line being red, or all lines being red, with only 1 being black. You need to quickly stand on a line that is opposite from the rest, and wait for the boss to charge by. You will do this 2 times in total. After stepping on the second line, the boss will charge by, then appear at the edge of the map and glow blue for a counter. You will know where the boss will appear for a counter by paying attention to your line. You need to look at where it is traveling. If your line is horizontal, the boss will always appear on the right side of that line. If your line is vertical, the boss will always appear at the top side of that line. From my testing, all lines were horizontal during this mechanic. When the boss glows blue, use your counter skill. If you do not, it is a wipe. If you happen to step on the wrong line the first or second time, you will take heavy damage and get a debuff that decreases your movement speed until the mechanic is finished. The next mechanic occurs at 105 HP lines or below. Armin will show a dialog box, and mobs will start spawning from the outside of the map and travel to your position. Use the Avail Sidereal on the boss for extra damage, then use Avail's follow-up skill when the mobs get close. This will kill all the mobs on the map. The next major mechanic happens around 90 HP lines or below. A cutscene will occur, then you will be teleported to a different area where you will fight a mini-boss. At the start, she will be in the middle of the map, taking reduced damage with mobs around her. Shortly after, a stagger bar will appear on the boss. You need to complete the stagger check, otherwise it is a wipe. Focus on completing the stagger check first before you kill the mobs. When you complete the stagger check, you need to bring the mini-boss down to 50 HP lines to then be teleported back to the main boss. Her attack patterns are pretty simple and do not deal a lot of damage. When you do get teleported back to the main boss, you will notice that his HP is lower than it was before you got to the mini-boss. Finishing the 90 bar mechanic shaves off roughly 30 HP lines from the main boss. You will need to deal a bit more damage until the boss is around 55 or below to trigger the last phase. During this last phase, outside of the map is not safe. Staying on the outside of the map will deal tick damage. You'll have to fight the boss in the middle. Most of his attack patterns are roughly the same, with some new attacks. There is one special attack I would like to discuss now. It is a time-based attack, so you may not see it if you're dealing enough damage. The boss will show a large red orb in front of him, then slash it twice. After that, red puddles will spawn under your feet and randomly around the map. Drop the puddles a little bit away from the boss, then move back to the boss as he will glow blue for a counter. Succeeding the counter gives you a good window to deal damage. At this point, you have to get the boss down to 0 HP lines to end the fight. If you want the extra damage, be sure to use Sidereal whenever you can. Now let's go over some attacks I believe you should be aware of. Spin Counter. The boss will target you and suddenly do a whirlwind attack. At the end of the whirlwind attack, he will glow blue for a counter. If you fail the counter, he will slam the ground, knocking you back and dealing damage. Earthquake. The boss will jump in the air and throw his sword on the ground. Then he will slam the ground in that area, shown by a blue telegraph. You should get in the habit of spacebarring this blue telegraph to avoid being stunned. Red Circle Counter. The boss will slam his sword on the ground, noted by a red circle around him. Then he will follow up with multiple red circle attacks. Afterwards, he will get up and glow blue for a counter. Large Yellow Grab. The boss will slowly pull back his sword, then slam it on the ground. Then he will spin around and show a large yellow telegraph. Move out of the telegraph to avoid getting grabbed. If you do get grabbed, you will take a lot of damage. And that will wrap up Gate 1. It's a fairly easy fight with simple mechanics. For Gate 2, you will bring the following battle items: Flame Grenade and Atropine. The last battle item is optional. You may need Flame Grenade later on in the fight. It is technically not required, but I recommend bringing it just in case. Before we dive into the major mechanics, let's go over the charm gimmick that occurs in this raid. There are certain attacks that Echidna can perform that will give you a charm debuff if you are hit. If you get 3 stacks of this debuff, you will be charmed for a few seconds. While charmed, you can't use any abilities and lose control of your character. In solo mode, if you get charmed, you will get 2 debuffs. One debuff is permanent and can stack up to 4 times. At 4 stacks, you will automatically die. So essentially, if you get charmed 4 times, it is a wipe. The other debuff you will get lasts 20 seconds and will reduce your attack power by 20%. I want to discuss the attacks that can give you a charm stack before we dive further into the raid. Fly Away. The boss will fly back and throw flowers on the ground and shoot out a red cone telegraph. She will do this 2 times in total. In Phase 2, she will do this 3 times in total. The flowers on the ground and the front telegraph will give you a charm stack if you are hit. Ribbon. The boss will stand still for a bit while targeting you, then lock on to your current position and throw a ribbon in front of her. If you do not get hit, she will spin around and attempt the same attack again. When she spins around and attempts the same attack again, she will quickly glow blue for a counter. This counter only exists in solo mode. If you get hit by either ribbon, she will stun you, then perform an AoE attack that gives you a charm stack. In Phase 2, she will fire 3 ribbons in total, with no counter attack available. Multiple ribbons. The boss will fire multiple ribbons in front of her, noted by a red telegraph. If you do not get hit, she will not follow up with an attack. However, if you do get hit, she will do an attack from her front side, then back side. If you position yourself on her right side, you'll be safe from both attacks. Both the front and back attack will give you a charm stack. Blue Stagger Check. The boss will slowly walk forward and show a stagger bar. At the same time, blue telegraphs will randomly spawn on the boss or around the boss. If you get hit by the blue telegraphs, you will generate a charm stack. Try your best to complete the stagger check, as it gives you a good window to deal damage. If you fail the stagger check, the boss will show a large blue telegraph attempting to suck you in. If you get sucked in, you will get charmed. Dance. The boss will attack twice in front of her, with the third attack being a ring around her. Then she will fly up in the air and land on the ground. When she lands, the ring attack that occurs from landing will give you a charm stack. Stay away from the boss when she's done with her third attack. If you are next to her when she flies in the air, she will throw you out pretty far, which causes you to get hit by the ring attack that generates a charm stack. In Phase 2, this attack is the same, except the red telegraph will spawn under your feet when she flies up in the air. The red telegraph that spawns under your feet does not generate a charm stack. When you start the fight, you will see an identity meter at the top left of your screen. When this identity fills up to a certain point, special mechanics will happen. The meter fills up on its own over time, and will fill up faster if you are constantly getting charmed or hit by her attacks. You will also notice that there are some tiles on the map that are pink, as well as 2 tiles on the map that are blue. One at the edge and another one that is 2 tiles next to it. These blue tiles are used during the 50 and 100% identity mechanic, which I will discuss in a moment. At 25 and 75% identity, the boss will crouch on the ground and turn all pink tiles to red tiles. Standing on the red tiles will quickly give you a charm stack. In addition, you will get a telegraph attached to you and a pink dial icon under your feet. The telegraph will fire when the icon beneath your feet goes away. The telegraph does a lot of damage. In addition, when the pink dial icon goes away, whatever tile you are standing on will turn pink. You need to stand between the 2 blue tiles on the map before the icon under your feet goes away. This is so it can be cleansed during the 50 and 100% identity mechanic. You do not want a lot of pink tiles on the map for various reasons. The first reason is because every time she does the 25 and 75% identity mechanic, all pink tiles turn into red tiles. So if you have a lot of pink tiles scattered around the map, you may accidentally come into contact with them. Another reason is because if you surround a clean tile with pink tiles, you will generate a flower. When you have a flower on the map, all surrounding tiles will generate charm stacks quickly if you stand on them. This can make the fight really chaotic. At 50 and 100% identity, a dialog box will be shown. Your camera will zoom out and you will see a circle surrounding your character. Echidna will teleport to one of the blue tiles, and a mirror will spawn on the other blue tile. The mirror will shine a light that will follow you for a few moments. You simply need to stand in between the blue tiles. After that, you will be petrified, and the mirror will fire a light that will bounce off of your character and hit the boss. If you placed a pink tile in between the blue tiles, then you would notice that the tile you're standing on is now cleansed. However, if that tile is not pink when the mechanic starts, then it will turn pink when the mechanic ends. In addition, if you do not stand on the tile that is between the 2 blue tiles when you're petrified, the light will not bounce to the boss. And when that happens, the boss will do a map-wide attack that deals massive damage but will not kill you. If you happen to fail this one more time during the fight, it will be a wipe. You simply need to stand on the tile that is between the 2 blue tiles to succeed this mechanic every time. The first major mechanic you see will depend on your damage. If you do not push the boss to 212 HP lines prior to 7 minutes and 40 seconds on the enraged timer, then you will see the flytrap mechanic first. The flytrap mechanic happens at 7 minutes and 40 seconds or below on the enraged timer. Ren will show a dialog box and flower petals will spawn on the ground. All pink tiles will turn into red tiles. There are 2 ways to do this mechanic. The easy way is to simply stand on a tile that is not cluttered with flower petals. Wait for the blue telegraph and get hit by it. A plant will grab you and deal heavy damage, but not enough to kill you if you're at full HP. Once the plant spits you back out, stand on that same tile for a few seconds, then move towards the boss. The proper way to do this mechanic is to go at least 6 tiles away from the boss that does not have a lot of pink tiles. When the tile you're standing on has a blue telegraph, move to the next tile. Rinse and repeat this 5 more times, then you are done. If you have enough damage, you may see the 212 HP line mechanic first, then the flytrap mechanic afterwards. If you are learning this raid, chances are you will see the flytrap mechanic first. At 212 HP lines or below, a cutscene will occur. After the cutscene, you will see mirrors that spawn in front of you. Every mirror has a face of Echidna, but only one of them is different from the rest. You need to walk up to the mirror that is different and counter it. You will have to do this 4 times in total. In solo mode, the correct mirror to counter is obvious because it is highlighted in blue. Every time you counter the blue mirror, your cooldowns will reset. If you do not counter the correct mirror, you will get a debuff. At 4 stacks, you will be petrified for a few seconds. Getting petrified should not happen because the game tells you which mirror is the correct one to counter. After this mechanic, the fight will proceed until 137 HP lines. However, if you hit 4 minutes on the enraged timer and she is not phased to 137, she will do a special pattern. The boss will show a dialogue box and teleport to the closest edge of the map. She will showcase a map-wide telegraph where next to her is safe. When the telegraph goes off, a few things will happen. You will have a tether that is attached to you and the boss, your vision will be impaired, and all pink tiles will turn into red tiles. Your goal is to get to the opposite side of the map in time so that you can break the tether. Butterflies will spawn on the map that will stun you upon impact, so you need to be careful. If you could not break the tether in time, you will lose control of your character for a few seconds. At 137 HP lines or below, the next mechanic will start. A cutscene that you should not skip will occur, then you will fight Big Echidna. The goal in this phase is to deal enough stagger to the boss. At the start of the phase, blue lines will spawn from the boss that will move outwards. These blue lines will electrocute you for a few seconds if you get hit. In solo mode, only 2 blue lines will spawn. The blue lines will spawn, go away, then spawn again, so you can easily walk through them or spacebar if you want. In addition, the boss will fire a laser 3 times in total, either on her left side or right side. If you get hit by the laser, you will get a charm stack. After she fires a 3rd laser, the boss will stand up and glow blue for a counter. If she is countered, she will be on the ground, allowing you more time to stagger the boss. Dish out as much stagger as you can. If you have enough Sidereal meter, use Thor Sidereal whenever you can for extra stagger damage. If the stagger check is not complete when she gets back up from being countered, she will perform 1 or 2 more attacks, then show a glowing circle in the back for a clash mechanic. If you are familiar with clashes in Theamine, it is the same in Echidna. This particular clash only has 1 key you need to press. If you fail the clash, or do not interact with the clash, you will take heavy damage. After you stagger the boss, a cutscene that you should not skip will occur, then you will be brought to Phase 2. When you enter Phase 2, the game will give you a lot of Sidereal meter. In addition, her identity mechanics in this phase are completely different. I will discuss them later on. You need to burn the boss down to 120 HP lines or below to trigger the snake clash mechanic. The boss will disappear and move to the left side of the map. The top side of the map will have a glowing circle. If you stand on the circle and press a G, you will start the clash mechanic. However, you can use the Thar Sidereal and have Thar clash for you. To do this, when you see the blue circle appear, place your cursor on the circle and use the Thar Sidereal as quickly as you can. If you miss the timing, the snake will destroy half of the map. While Thar is clashing for you, you can deal damage to the snake. Thar himself will deal roughly 37 HP lines of damage, and the snake has a total of 100 HP lines. So if you could do 63 HP lines of damage, you can kill the snake within this mechanic. When you do kill the white snake, the boss will get a permanent debuff that increases the damage she takes by 30%. If you could not kill the white snake with Thar the first time, you will need to burn the boss down to 100 HP lines to trigger another chance for the snake clash. Thar can only clash once for you, so the second clash and onwards you will have to do yourself. Every single key to press for snake clash will be Q. Getting all perfects is honestly not that hard, and just like with Theamine solo mode, getting perfect timings will deal damage to the snake, with good timings dealing less damage to the snake. By the time you complete the second clash, the snake should be dead. If not, the third clash should do it, which happens at 80 HP lines or below. If you decide to not use Thar at all, and do all the clashes yourself, it will take a total of 3 clashes to kill the snake if every clash timing is perfect. In my opinion, this is unnecessary because you can kill the snake faster with Thar and deal 30% extra damage to the boss sooner than later. The next major mechanic happens at 55 HP lines or below. The boss will disappear and a few mirrors will appear in the middle of the map. 1 mirror in the center and more mirrors surrounding the middle. The middle mirror will show Echidna moving left or right 5 times in total. This indicates the order and direction, the middle mirror will rotate. You do not have to memorize or pay attention to this. You need to stay behind the middle mirror and face it as it keeps rotating and complete the stagger check. As this is happening, the other mirrors will do a petrify attack. However, you will not get petrified as long as you stay behind a mirror and face it. If you do get petrified, you will die. As a fun fact, if you fail the stagger check, you can time stop right when the stagger bar disappears to prevent dying. Once the mechanic is complete, there are no more major mechanics. Now let's discuss the two identity mechanics that can occur at 50 and 100% identity in Phase 2. At 50% identity, the boss will stand still and raise her hands in the air with the red aura around her. The first time this mechanic happens, red will show a dialog box. Some edges of the map will have a red line on them. There are two ways you can do this mechanic. If you have enough Sidereal meter, you can use the Inferno Sidereal. This Sidereal will deal damage to the boss and ignite all edges of the map. This will automatically complete the mechanic. The second way you can do this mechanic is by throwing Flame Grenade at an edge of the map that has a red line. When you throw Flame Grenade, stand still at the edge and wait for the snakes to pass by. A large red telegraph will be shown, but the telegraph is heavily delayed. If you happen to get hit by the snakes, you will take fatal damage. At 100% identity, the boss will take reduced damage and move to the middle of the map. In a moment, snakes will spawn from the outside and move slowly to the boss. You need to kill these snakes. They do not have a health bar, but they die based upon total number of hits. So using skills that involve multiple hits will help out a lot. Flame Grenade is recommended during this mechanic. During this mechanic, the boss will consistently target you with a blue cone telegraph. It will follow you, then eventually lock on to your current position. You should stay somewhat near the boss so that you can easily dodge it when it locks on. If you get hit by the blue telegraph, you will take a lot of damage, and the permanent charm debuff will stack up 2 more times, with the 20% attack power debuff for 20 seconds. If any snake comes into contact with the boss, it is technically a wipe, but you can use time stop potion when a snake comes into contact with the boss. With the major mechanics out of the way, let's go over some attacks that can occur in this fight. 4 mirrors. In Phase 1, the boss will summon 4 mirrors around her. Every mirror will show a light beam that will target you. After a few moments, the beams will lock onto your current position and attack. This does a ton of damage if you were to get hit by multiple beams at the same time. 8 mirrors. In Phase 1, the boss will summon 8 mirrors around her. You will need to get away quickly. Multiple red telegraphs will be shown on the map. You need to stand next to one of the red telegraphs and wait for the attack to occur, then keep walking. This is because a light beam is following you and it does a lot of damage. And the red telegraph itself will electrocute you if you get hit. Since you'll need quite a bit of room to run away from the beam that is following you, you need to wait for the red telegraph attack to occur, then start walking. Many hearts. In Phase 1, the boss will stand still and show a heart above her head. After a moment, she will fire a lot of hearts in random directions. If you get hit, the boss will teleport behind you and grab you, then throw you on the ground. You will then get a pink dial icon under your feet. After a moment, whatever tile you're standing on will turn pink. Phase 2 counter. The boss will raise her hands high, then perform a series of attacks. She will show multiple pizza telegraphs, then follow up with yellow telegraphs. Afterwards, she will glow blue for a counter. I see a lot of people that get knocked up by this attack and cannot go for the counter. To easily dodge this, stand a bit away from her and do not stand on the piece of telegraphs. After she does the yellow telegraph attack, move in front of her and prepare the counter. If you miss the counter, she will do a lot of damage. Medusa. In Phase 2, a Medusa eye will be shown above Echidna's head. You will need to look away from her. If you look at the boss, she can follow up with a spin attack, knocking you away. Or she can teleport and try to grab you, noted by a yellow telegraph. If you get grabbed, she will deal moderate damage. Yellow mirror. In Phase 2, the boss will showcase a mirror in front of her. After a few moments, a yellow telegraph will spawn under your feet and randomly around the boss. You need to react to this quickly and move out to avoid getting grabbed. If you do get grabbed, you'll be thrown far away. White snake. In Phase 2, the boss will envelop herself with the white snake and flower petals will spawn on the ground. This is a free DPS pattern. Stand as close as you can to the boss and continue to deal damage. Flower petals will spawn on top of you, but they are extremely delayed. The timing to get out is when the white snake starts moving. Counterpunch. The boss will suddenly target you and attempt to punch you, knocking you back pretty far. At the start of this attack, she will glow blue for a counter. This counter only exists in solo mode. Charge counter. The boss will attempt to charge forward. She will glow blue for a counter. If he failed the counter, she will disappear and charge back again. And that will wrap up the Solo Echidna guide. I know many people find this raid to be annoying or difficult, so I tried to go into as much detail as I could. I truly hope this guide helps out any player that is attempting this raid. As another reminder, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more guides like this in the future. I have decided that I'll work on an A-Gear guide and get it released as soon as I can. That way I am caught up for the next raid, which is Belshazzar. In addition, I'm trying to get back into streaming on a regular basis. If you are interested in stopping by, my Twitch channel is deathboy523. I will leave a link in the video description below. With that being said, I will see you all in the next video. Peace.